Hey, how we doing?
We look damn alike.
Right?
Damn, you sexy.
Who has a sexier man bun?
Damn, you do.
Yeah,
You
baby.
look like almost like Colin.
I'm doing my best to look like you.
Damn, you're there.
I even highlighted it.
Where the hell did you get that from?
I grew it. What are you talking about? I grew it in a few days.
You used to have hair like that.
Yeah, but curlier.
But
as I got older, it straightened out.
It straightened out. You
Yeah.
used to rock the ponytail too.
Yeah.
That's when I first saw you bodybuilding was with that hair, and I'm like, damn, he looks like a fucking samurai.
Yeah, I look like a Cuban drug lord.
All you needed was a chain, let your hair grow, and just sit in the corner.
Yeah, and be the bad guy.
Fuck you, man.
You know what's funny is I placed 7th and 8th with the hair. I shaved it and placed 2nd to Flex Lewis.
So the hair did not have powers.
No power.
Were you also single too?
Not at the time, but I also didn't have your hairline. My hair was, I had a gigantic forehead.
Well, your head did grow over time. So
Yeah, it absolutely did. I had a big jaw, big muscle right here.
This is like the best. This. I didn't expect this at all.
Right, Slim
Yeah,
J?
this is for you. I go above and beyond for my peeps.
I see that. I see that.
My girl Danielle Muir is gonna get a big kick out of this. She's a Boston. What would you call her? A disc jockey, a reporter, a radio personality.
Yeah, is it the Greg Hill show?
Yeah. She's great. So she's excited to see my hair. I promised her.
I know. I gotta cut it all off for Tampa. So I'm gonna just enjoy it while it's still there.
Why? Leave it.
No. I really do believe that, and I mean, you just kind of alluded to that too already, where like your appearance is like the whole package kind of thing. So I really don't want to jeopardize any of that. I know it wouldn't, but I don't know. It's just, I feel like I get so crazy leading so close into a show, like with the tan and the skin and the tanning and everything. So the hair and the facial hair is one of those things that goes.
Well, the difference is it looks good on you. It didn't look good on me. You know, I think you'll be just fine either way. So that leads me to question number one.
Yeah.
We're only going to talk a certain amount of bodybuilding, but Mike Cox from down there in Florida wanted to ask, and I think you answered it already, but what are you most comfortable with Classic Physique or bodybuilding?
I think that they both have like their pros and cons, you know, just like anything else. You know, Classic, I think that if it would have came out at a time where I closer to when I got my pro card, it would have been easier to make weight because I never would have made that initial push essentially to try to do 212, which only existed at that time. I think that held me back quite a bit to try to now go backwards. And, you know, I put size everywhere, including my waist and everything like that, going into 212 that first year. And my physique visually compared to nationals just was never the same. So other than that, I mean, I love Classic. I love the challenge of making weight, which seems to be the challenge every single time. But I don't enjoy the not being able to eat, like literally not being able to eat. Like I don't eat shit. Dieting for Classic.
I heard different.
Huh?
I heard different.
You heard different? Yeah, right.
From the from Dusty and Ron.
Well, that's, you know, at a phase you need to go on keto, so you got that little keto aspect in the diet. That's a little dessert at the end of the day. Well, the other part of Classic that I did like is that I didn't have to push. I mean, the obvious. I didn't have to push the anabolic.
Yeah.
that's pretty much it. Other than that, 212 is. I had such a great time competing at the Europa last year. You know, I didn't expect to even go and do that show, as I mentioned before in the other podcast. But it was so much fun because Andrew just kept on feeding me and feeding me. It felt like I wasn't even really prepping for a show, and my mood was up. I felt great. I had a ton of energy, and I had a great time at the show. So, you know, we'll see how it goes. I think that the real test is going to be not this year, but then actually having an off season next year and seeing how far we can push it to see if, you know, if I could still gain size, because I never really had an off season other than when I first got my pro card.
Well, you're only 30 years old right now, right?
31, yeah.
31. You got tons of growing to do.
I know. I look at you, and you've been doing this, you know, since a teenager, like when I first started. So, you know, I think that the biggest thing is going to be trying to minimize injuries, and you know all about that too, is trying to keep that longevity. But I still have to train like a 212 guy rather than a classic guy now.
Right.
My training was completely different.
Which is more fun anyway.
It is more fun.
Setting goals and getting stronger and getting bigger. I know a few months ago I texted you and I said, dude, I don't know if I'm seeing things, but you look a lot bigger.
Mm-hmm.
You have grown a lot in the past year.
Yeah. And the thing is that I grow, and then once we start prepping for Classic, it goes down to shit because we get to, I'm not kidding, Jose, like we get down to like 1,000 calories a day sometimes.
Right, of course.
And it's like the scale doesn't fucking move, and it gets very frustrating because it's like, how am I doing all this cardio? How am I training so fucking hard? Carlos is killing me at the gym. I could barely lift like 20-pound dumbbells because I'm so dead. And then I get on the scale and it's not even moving. It fucks with your head. And I think that's probably the part that I'm definitely not going to miss, is obsessing over the scale so much.
Yeah. Well, the whole sport of bodybuilding is based on growth, on getting bigger, improving, making improvements. And, you know, like Flex Lewis, he was just stifling himself, staying at 212. Mm-hmm. And you staying as a classic guy, you're stifling yourself at such a young age where you're at your peak growing phase. Like between 30 and 35, you're going to grow. You know, you'll be over 200 pounds at some point.
Yeah, that's kind of like I was talking about like a 5-year plan on my last post, and that's what I want to do. Is I'm looking at, you know, a small window and see how hard and how far I can go in that window before I start, you know, pumping the brakes on this competing stuff, and just, you know, hopefully use these next 5 years to set the future for the Paragon brand and everything that I have going on the side. So, and you just use the competing part as, you know, almost like marketing.
So this is more what we wanted to talk about. That's why I said we're only going to talk so much bodybuilding. Nate and I have been talking about the many, many things that you're involved with in businesses and how you market yourself. So I know Nate has a few questions lined up for you. So
Nate, what's up, man?
What's up, man? Good to see you. Last time I saw you was Arnold 2018, the dinner at Jose's last
man.
Arnold.
Let me tell you something. That is one of the things that I look forward to the most. Like, there are times where, you know, Jose's prepping for a show, and I know that he's in the zone, and then I know that although all this is going on, I could definitely look forward to that steak dinner in Columbus.
Yeah.
It was great. We had David Henry there. Phil Heath came.
Phil Heath came by. Yeah.
I was sitting next to Jose, and I were talking about this morning. Crystal, who used to do some stuff for Generation Iron, is all in the sport out of New York. Who else was there, Jose?
Dusty.
Right.
Todd. Jake. My wife.
You were wasted, by the way.
Oh yeah, we were.
You were sloshed.
Oh yeah, that's at Mitchell's Steakhouse. we were having tequila. What was that called? The Patron Silver with orange slices.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that was wonderful.
Mm-hmm. That's one thing too that most people in bodybuilding that follow me, we love drinking.
Well, you love the celebration.
First time that me and Jose actually bonded during John Hansen's guest posing that we did, it was over drinks.
Oh yeah,
it was over drinks.
Yeah, it was awesome. That was a great time. What did you weigh back then? Were you still in the 160s?
I was like in the 180s, but different look completely. Like, you know, muscle very immature.
Yeah.
My training wasn't. That's when I first started training with Carlos, so I wasn't really under a lot of weight for a long time.
Right.
You know.
We guest posed with Aaron Reed, Nate.
Oh, right. I've seen those pics.
Yeah,
man, it's like, yeah, Jose compared to Aaron Reed. Yeah.
It was so much fun. That was one of the most fun times I've ever had guest posing.
So for those that are listening that don't know, Aaron Reed is how tall?
6'7".
Okay, so he's 6'7". Then you got Jose that you're 5'4", 5'5".
With shoes on.
With shoes on.
Yeah.
And then I'm a whopping 5'5" as well. And we're doing a pose down, and just the visuals of this is hilarious. So funny. And it was such a good your speech, especially. Like your speech. It actually came up on my Facebook the other day, your speech that you have there. I recorded it.
Oh, send it to me.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. It was a really good speech. You'll post that.
Awesome.
So I got a question for you. When Jose mentioned you're going to come on, I was really psyched because I think one of the ways, besides just being a standout bodybuilder, you've placed incredibly well, made it to the Arnold. Were you sixth place?
6, yeah.
This past Arnold, yep. And so, you know, incredible physique. But I think where you stand out even more than your physique is your hustle, your business, your everything that you're doing that I think is often missing in the bodybuilding world, right? Yeah. So one of the things I want to talk to you about, because you've been doing, how long you've been competing? Over 10 years, right?
Over 10 years.
So you've seen the industry change, the business side of things change, right? Yeah. And so I wanted to kind of talk about, Jose can certainly speak to the old way of how things were, right? You got a magazine contract, you got a supplement contract, maybe a clothing contract, but you sort of had to place well and then hope that somebody approached you, right? Like your value was based on your placing.
Correct.
Nowadays, it's what audience do you have built within your Instagram, your YouTube? Somebody could be placing back of the pack or not even competing, but be incredibly valuable to a company. Hence this new era of social media people, right? That are. So can you speak to like what your first contract was, your first income within the industry? Definitely. I know you were with Muscle Tech. And then after that, we can get into what you're doing nowadays, which is way more your own thing or utilizing your fan base versus just being the model, the spokesperson. Can we get into that? Like, how did you start that first contract?
So I think that I'm one of the younger, one of the younger generations in bodybuilding that got to experience that the way that the industry used to be versus how the industry is now. And I'm saying that in the sense that I'm still 30, but I still got to experience that side of the industry before the transition happened. A lot of the new generation of people that compete are just know this way. They don't know how it used to be. And then you have other bodybuilders, sorry, Jose, but that they're older, like the guys that I looked up to, and they experienced both, but they had more time the way that it used to be. And so I'm like, I kind of like fall right in the middle. So when I was an amateur, it was the way that the old timers used to think, used to have that you need to compete in shows. There was no social media at that time. You need to be on magazine covers so that you can get a contract. And that was, as an amateur, that was like my dream. My dream was to be on a magazine, you know, in the front cover, to get sponsored by a supplement company like Muscle Tech. You know, Jose was with Muscle Tech for some time. All the best were with Muscle Tech, and that was like all you flip. Jay Cutler, everybody was with Muscle Tech. So I just worked hard. I knew that I wasn't going to get a contract or anything as an amateur, so all I did was just do my thing. I went to school, and bodybuilding was kind of just like a side kind of gig, just you know, something that I just had fun with. I never really thought that it would turn into something more than that until I figured that out later on. After I got my pro card in 2014, then I got in contact with Ed Connors. And for those that know Ed Connors in the industry, Ed Connors is responsible for, he just has a good eye for certain athletes and then positioning them in front of companies. And then hopefully, you know, these companies pick up these athletes. Now I got my pro card already at the back end where those big contracts were happening with bodybuilders. So even though I got a very good contract, I mean, I could have, if I didn't live in Miami, I could live a very comfortable life just based on the salary that Muscle Tech was giving me at that time. The responsibilities weren't that crazy. It was just when they tell you to get in shape, do well in shows, represent the company well. And, you know, if they had any kind of promotional venue things like at the Arnold or at the Olympia or even traveling abroad, you were obligated to go and show face and all of that. The issue is that social media was already starting to boom at that time. And social media, I feel like your following is 100% based on, and these are the true followers that you'll get, is going to be based on your personality. And I think that a lot of people tend to not be themselves on social media. And I felt that the more I was myself, the better and the more locked in my audience got. You know, whether it was my lifestyle in Miami with parties, and then I also balanced it with fitness. Like I was a normal person. And I think that a lot of people can relate to that. So while I was with Muscle Tech, I was not able to be myself 100% on social media. I had to be very, very conservative with everything that I put out, information and everything. And as soon as that time came that Muscle Tech started restructuring and they let me go, I'm like, great. I'm like, this is where I can now be myself on social media. And it all pretty much started out with me doing my Q&As, me being very open about the real factors involved with bodybuilding, the drugs, the training, the diet. And I just was answering everybody's question, no matter what it was. I was answering their questions as honest as possible. Now, this honesty that I was putting out there kind of caught fire. And 2 years while I was with Muscle Tech is when I started the Paragon brand and, started coming out with my waist trainers. Jose actually had the first version of my waist trainer that came out. And it also, at the time when I was with Muscle Tech, I was doing two jobs. I had my Muscle Tech salary that I was getting with Muscle Tech, and I also owned a cell phone repair shop. So I had two things going on at once, plus I competed in bodybuilding. Now, at that time, I'm like, man, I feel like there's an open market for something a little bit different. I see a lot of these, especially men's physique guys, are using these waist trainers, but they're buying it from these girls. What if I come out with my own waist trainer that's just truly dedicated and I promote it just for men? And people like my dad, when I told him, he's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like he thought it was nuts. So I went ahead and I went through the whole process of looking for manufacturers and materials, and I bought all these different waist trainers, and then I took notes on what I liked from them and what I didn't like from them, and kind of compiled all the best features that each of them have and made one. And then with that, it started out as a small box with about maybe 20 waist trainers under my desk where I fixed cell phones. And that's where it pretty much started. Now, fast forward a little bit to when Muscle Tech let me go, and I started becoming more open on my social media. My social media just started booming, and it was all honest information that I was getting. This wasn't no gimmick shit that I was talking about. This was all personal experience from dieting, from training, and from the drugs involved in bodybuilding. And I was 100% honest about everything. Now, I could never do that with being under contract with Muscle Tech. And then from there, you kind of build a relationship with your audience, and you build this honest relationship with your audience. So now, whenever you sell anything, or whenever you're reviewing a product, or whenever you're promoting a product, because you're honest about everything else about the industry, they are going to trust you when it comes to when you're actually promoting a product. Versus if somebody's telling me that they're 100% lifetime natural or whatever, and you know that they're bullshitting, what else are they bullshitting about? You know, I never once on my social media was, you know, dishonest about any part of my preps. When I go through my preps, I lay it out. I lay exactly what's out. And I think that honesty, building a relationship with your audience based on honesty is going to translate into sales when you do sell them a product, or when you or when you're promoting something, just because they feel confident in what you're telling them. So that's basically how it all started.
So so you have the waist trainer, which I own one. I think I've sold 5 or 6 of them for you.
There you go.
With clients of mine that I train, with friends. I saw you posted maybe a week or so ago about starting like a skincare or a hair care product line. Is that something that's in the works right now?
As soon as I started with that, I quickly found that it is not for me.
Okay.
I know that it's in theory, the way that I thought of it was a great idea, but it's just that there's so many hurdles when it comes to cosmetics that I don't want to get sued. And that pretty much is it. When it comes to cosmetics, there's so many regulations, there's so many different things that people could claim that, oh, this stuff gave me this and this and that. And as soon as I started reading more on this and more on like the power of the person that comes in and can sue you, I'm like, there's no way I'm getting involved with it. So I kind of just dropped the idea 100% after I heard that.
Smart. That question came from McKella too, by the way.
Oh yeah.
She wanted to know your hair care. What hair care product?
I have some secrets. All right.
All right, you can call me later and let us know.
So with that, you know, where you have a business you have up and running,
mm-hmm.
you were looking at doing the hair thing, but for reasons I understand, chose to drop it. And then you have companies that you work with, whether it be an affiliate code or what other dealings, right? You've got Rise, right, that you're with, and other companies. So now, being the businessman that you are, where do you decide when you want to let someone else run the business and use your audience who, for all the reasons you just mentioned, trust you, right? That's one of the things you've done, not only built up a following, but hopefully a following that trusts you a lot more than whatever social media person that may have twice the amount of followers, but is, you know, sort of Kardashian-like, pushing just bullshit products, right?
Bullshit products.
Yeah. So what's your decision making in terms of do I want to sponsor, or do I want to use my following to help this other company, or should I start my own in that field?
Mm-hmm. So the whole trust topic again, since we're on this, when last year when I was competing all last year, I wasn't sponsored by like anybody. I only had Paragon. That was all I had. Paragon was fun. Was all the money, not all the money, but a lot of the money that I was making with the waist trainers. It went ahead and it helped me compete, and then, you know, keep that cycle going. Because the more, and I also showed, as a side note, the more that I competed, the more it translated to sales. The more it translated into eyes on my page. So it was kind of like a win-win. It was like, I'm doing what I love to do, which is compete, and I'm also making money at the same time, and I'm also being myself. So I don't have to like compromise for anything. So that whole time I didn't have any other companies that had sponsored me. I had a lot of different supplement companies reach out to me. Either they were not paying shit, so I said absolutely not. They were not going to allow me to speak the way that I want to speak on my social media, which is 100% completely out. And I had to actually like their product. I mean, I honestly, that was, again, back to the honesty part. I have to like their product. I have to like the brand, and it has to fit well with what I'm doing. It's like, I don't think that I would be a good fit for, like, you know, maybe like I don't know, some pretty, like, I wouldn't be a good fit for Muscle Tech now. Definitely wouldn't be a good fit for them now.
Any
At
company
time,
that has like the corporate boardroom
the
people.
squeaky clean type of, you know,
Yeah.
we don't want you to speak your mind. We just want you to look good behind a table and like give samples. That's not for me. Even if they're giving me a paycheck, my social media relies on my honesty. So I have to keep that going. So Rise reached out to me, and I told them, like, they had a whole contract ready for me with everything. And I go, whoa. I'm like, the contract's great, but I'm like, you need to send me one of every single one of your products. I need to try them all and make sure that I like them. And they're like, we know 100% you're going to like them. You're going to like them. I'm like, the ball's in your court. I'm like, you know, that's cool. So they sent me all the stuff, and I honestly, I love their product. I love their product. They just, some of the employees that they have now are from Pro Subs. And I love Pro Subs when I was coming up as an amateur. I mean, speaking about hustling, Pro Subs, the guys that started Pro Subs, when I was an amateur, they were giving out samples at my LA Fitness. Just walk every day. They would be there just walking around, not with a table or anything, just walking around with a t-shirt. Hey man, here's a t-shirt. Here's a sample. And, you know, every year after that, they just blew up. Like, that's what
Ike with those guys?
Uh-huh. They hustled, man. They hustled. And once Ike then got in with Rise, I'm like, this is going to be awesome, because it's like, I've been wanting to work with somebody like Ike for a long time, since Pro Subs, and now, you know, almost like the stars aligned with Rise. So
Is Pro Subs still around?
Yeah, they're still around.
That's TJ?
That's TJ, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
that's TJ, and yeah, I mean, it's just a new direction for the company. I'm glad. Timing is everything, because you could start with a company when they're small, and, you know, you get in with them, and you're one of their first athletes, and usually the good ones will stay loyal to you. So
right.
I got lucky enough to come in at a good time with Rise.
That's
Jose,
great.
question for you, kind of tying in.
Yeah.
About a week ago, you were briefly telling me a story of how you joined Muscle Tech. And so it might be kind of an interesting comparison, because it sounds like Santi came in at a different time, right? You were telling me prior to Santi coming in, they had like a who's who with Cutler, all these other people, and they dropped everybody. Why don't you tell the story of how you came in, of how, I guess, what a handshake deal it was with you coming in, which you wouldn't expect with a big company like Muscle Tech.
Yeah. Well, there was a contract, but, you know, I had just won my 8th national title and won the middleweights, and I was looking to get a sponsor, and I was talking to Muscle Tech, and the guy that was trying to do the deal was like, oh, I never heard of you. Meanwhile, my brother was with them for 5 years. and I'm like, okay. I'm like, whatever. He's like, well, what we'll do is you can try the transformation challenge. And then, you know, you'll get $1,000 if you win that. And then we'll consider, you know, signing you. So I was, you know, anyone who knows me, I get to be a little fatty in the off season. So I had broken my leg. I got up over 260, and then I had to diet down to do the before photo. And I was like 242 in the first photo. And then I dieted down for the New York Pro, and I was like 185, 187, something like that. And I won the transformation challenge, and they said, all right, listen, we'll sign you, but we're not going to pay you. They're like, we'll pay for your show fees and contest fees. So I had a 2-year deal of that, 2009 and 2010. Well, I did 11 shows in that time. They paid for everything. And they were basically betting on me to not do well.
To not do well.
Yeah. So in 2010, I won 2 shows in 8 days. I went to Tampa and Hartford. And the deal was, you know, we'll give you 10 grand if you win a show. And, you know, they were just thinking I wasn't going to be anything. So I won. They had to pay my travel expenses to Tampa and to Hartford, all my fees. It came out to like $27,000 or something.
Stuck it to them. You stuck it to them.
I did. And not long after, they were like, we are no longer requiring your services. And that's when everyone got dumped. And I was like, I'm like, come on. I'm like, it'll be cheaper just to sign me.
That's what I would have thought that they would have done is just, okay, all right, this is enough. We had enough.
Yeah, they went in a totally different direction. They signed Ronnie from the Jersey Shore and gave him all the money that he would have given to 10 of us. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, they got rid of, I think the only people they kept were Branch and Jay and Dexter. They got rid of everyone else. Mm-hmm. And, you know, at the time, Kevin English was the Olympia champ. They had David Henry. They had myself, and they got rid of us all. But it was funny because I was betting on myself, and they were betting against me, and I ended up winning and getting paid. And I'm like, this is great. You know? I absolutely stuck it to them, and yeah, it was funny. I got another story that Santi was there. And I was with BPI, and I was filming a video. And Santi's like, I'll come down. We'll have dinner afterwards. I'm like, all right.
He was in Miami, by the way. He was in Miami.
Yeah. And we were doing this video, this training video, but they had these little like clear packages of supplements. It was a pre-workout. And, you know, I was supposed to take it, train, and then give some feedback on it. Well, I didn't know, but the plastic baggie was like a triple dose. And it was a triple dose of Jay's like Legend Pro pre-workout. And nothing hit me. And I'm like, I had a great workout. I didn't feel anything. And then just as the workout ended, just as we finished everything, I started getting really warm. I started sweating and kind of getting the shakes. I'm like, Santi, let's go eat. And I need to eat. Like something's going on here.
I take him to this famous Latin restaurant over here that was near Miami Iron Gym where we were training at. And this guy's flop sweat. I mean, you were doing absolutely nothing sitting there. And his eyes were were so red, like bulging. Like if you were crying all night. Like your blood pressure must have been like 1,000. Like it must have been crazy. And he's just sitting there like he's fucked up. Just sitting there. And
you stopped me like in the middle of dinner. You go, dude, are you all right? I'm like, yeah, why? You're like, it looks like it poured rain on you. Like my shirt was soaked. I had changed my shirt. I was soaked. I was freezing and profusely sweating. So
like
whatever that was.
Those cold sweats.
Yeah, it hit me. I had to go back to the hotel and take a hot bath because I was freezing.
But you were sweating.
Yeah, but it was so funny, like how hard it hit me and your reaction, like middle of dinner, like nah,
because man. Because it was like
on.
all normal, it was all good. You know, you're saying stuff, and then you're mute. You're not saying shit. Yeah. You're just there, like this is the worst day of your life. Oh. And we finally look over, like, are you okay? He's just like drenched. Just drenched. Oh yeah, I'm fine. Oh,
it was brutal. It was scary, man. I had to go back to my hotel by myself and like try to take a bath or something to cool down or heat up. Or I didn't know what to do. But
some of those pre-workouts, I don't know if at that time if they had like that DMAA, you know, in it. But honestly, when I used to take speaking of pro subs used to have this hide, and it used to have
the Jekyll and Hyde.
It used to have DMAA in it, and I used to go to the gym and put like Ultra Music Festival, like the playlist of Ultra Music Festival. Swear to God, it was like if I'm rolling balls, like if I'm on an ecstasy, like at the gym, like training. Like you don't run out of energy, but it does feel like what you felt, that flop sweat, and you're cold. So it's like you have like almost like a mini flu.
Well, that's why they tried to make it illegal, right? Or it is illegal.
I think it's. I don't think it's legal to get that anymore.
I had one product I bought. Jose knows the store. Our buddy Peter at American Nutrition Center. Peter's like the local pre-workout drug dealer. Like you come in and he's like, "Man, I got some new shit for you," you know, and
drunk.
Yeah, pulls it out from behind the counter or something. And so the names, one of the things that's so funny about this industry is in the last few years, the names just started getting ridiculous, right? I don't know if it started with the 5% nutrition and you started having like, you know, more tough guy, kill it. Yeah. And so he had a product that legit, I don't know who made it. It was called meth. It was just meth. And so he's telling me, he's like, dude, this stuff's the craziest thing ever. You're going to have the best workouts. I'm like, I got to try it then, right? Like I'm like some club drug addict. I'm like, all right, if you say, I guess I'll try meth. And so I buy the thing. I take it. I do a workout at like 6 p.m. at night. So I drink it like 5:30. And it was the weirdest feeling. It wasn't even like, I couldn't place it. Maybe it was DMAA in it, but it wasn't even like, oh, I took too much caffeine. It was like a mega dose of caffeine with like an overdose of Adderall with just this cocktail where I was so focused I couldn't focus, right? Just out of it. And so I get through the workout, but I'm like, something doesn't feel right. So I go home, and at this point it's like midnight. I'm like, I am wide awake, right? I don't even know how I'm going to fall asleep. So I start taking like NyQuil, Tylenol PM, just shit to knock me out.
Smoke a joint.
Yeah, so I pass out. I wake up the next morning and my jaw is killing me.
DMAA.
I was grinding my teeth all night long.
100%. You were gnawing
my teeth. Never touch that shit again. Yeah.
Sounds like my Sunday morning.
I'm fine with the coffee. A little sensitive. So I have a question. Something I know you were recently on with Dusty and Ron. Mm-hmm. And it blows my mind that they didn't discuss this with you because they're both ex-hockey players.
Oh, my God.
You know, a lot of people don't know your history with hockey, how you used to travel and you were a nasty little player. So give us a little background on that.
So the first thing that people hear is, wait, they got hockey in Miami? That's the first thing. I'm like, well, it just so happens that at that time, there was no hockey in Miami, but the Florida Panthers just started like their team, their franchise team. And me being like around, I think I was like 6 or 7 years old. This was at a time where you actually kids went outside and played with their friends. So I had a lot of kids in my neighborhood, and we used to just play like different sports and stuff, but never hockey until that one year. I think it was 1996 where the Florida Panthers went all the way against the Colorado Avalanche to the Stanley Cup. And this was like only 3 years into their franchise. And this just sparked up like all this wave of talent from South Florida that, I mean, we would have never picked hockey. I mean, me being Cuban, I probably would have picked baseball, or my dad would have had me play baseball or something like that. But we got our skates. We had nets in the street, and we were playing pickup games. I mean, we're talking about like 10 on 10, like 20 kids in the block coming from other blocks to play hockey with us. Wow. Then they built, within that same year, they built just down the street, they built an entire park of outside rinks, like inline rinks. And they had about maybe 8 full-size rinks that they built. And then they had a league, and they had a league going on. Like, it was just like super awesome, especially for me being like so young. I'm like, this is fucking so cool. So my dad decided, him being, he's an old school Cuban. He's like, I'm going to get a team together. I'm going to get a team. They're like, Dad, you don't know shit about hockey. He's like, well, my dad, when he puts his mind to something, he becomes like the best at it. He becomes obsessive over it. So he started reading books on hockey, on like how to coach and all these things, how to do drills, how to run practices. And that's how my hockey started, was right from there. My dad was my coach. And then from there, after a couple of years, we decided to do a travel team. So this was like an elite hand-picked team out of South Florida. And we had the best uniforms. Like my dad was like, he's no expense spared with my dad. So we loved the Red Wings. We were like huge Red Wing fans here in South Florida. We loved the Red Wings. My favorite hockey player was Sergei Fedorov. So Sergei Fedorov, they always had the Nike, the sickest jerseys with it. So all our shit was red and white. Our helmets, everything was uniform. There was no team at that time that looked so prepared like us. So even if, we were good, but even if the other team was better than us, they would just look at us come onto the rink, and it was just an intimidation. That red, everybody just looks sick in their uniforms, Nike glove, everything. And we were really good. We traveled all around the United States playing inline hockey. Then from inline hockey, then I graduated into ice hockey. Now this was a whole new territory for me as a young kid, because the physics are completely different from inline hockey. The basics are the same, but the physics are completely different. And then you also have to put into play now the physical aspect of hockey. Inline hockey, there was no hitting. You could bump, you could do these things, but there was no like full-on checking. And then that's when the ice hockey started. So I played ice hockey for 10 years, from all the way until age 18. I played high school hockey with that. So I was playing on two teams at one time. I had no life. I had no life as a kid other than hockey. It was, I would say, for like 5 years straight, it was every single weekend we were in a new state. I don't even know how many states and cities because it all kind of like blended in as a kid. It kind of all blended in. But we played everywhere, man. We played in Canada. We played in Detroit. We played everywhere that you could think of in the United States. One of the most prestigious shows, which is called the Silver Stick, which is out of they do it in different places every single year, but it was in Canada. We ended up winning that. So it's like, for a Florida team, that's like huge. That's like that doesn't exist. And I remember every time competing against guys from up north, it's like, they were, speaking of all this racism stuff going on, they were very racist to us. But we always were, they would call us, wetbacks and all this stuff, because we had a lot of Latins on our team. Oh, yeah. And but we would laugh at it, man. We would laugh at it like, we're gonna fuck you guys up. You guys don't know what's waiting for you. We're gonna fuck you up. So it became well known that there was a powerhouse in South Florida, and at the time our team was called the Golden Wolves. So from there, after all this time, when high school came around, I'm like, going into college, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I want to have a life. I don't want to be spending every single weekend, traveling or anything like that. All my summers growing up, they were getting ready for the next season. Right. So I never went to the gym before bodybuilding, but we were conditioning constantly. We were outside running. We were doing squats. We were doing all these things to condition for the following season. And I could never gain weight. This is funny. I could never gain weight. I would eat McDonald's all day long. I could never gain weight. So my dad, he went to a GNC when I must have been like 13 years old. And he just would make this shake concoction for me to drink every single morning. And I would see him blend this shit up. So it was one of those mass gainers. So he would take whole milk all over the blender, fruits, bananas, peanut butter. He would take the weight gainer and throw it in there. This thing must have been like 3,000 calories. And then he would also put Boost. you know, the little Boost tin cans, Boost in there. And then he would force me to drink that in the morning with oatmeal. So I would eat my oatmeal and then I'll have that. There was no cereal in my house. The weekend was the only weekend that I would beg my mom to make me pancakes, which she loved making pancakes. But my dad always wanted me to get good food in. We didn't know shit about nutrition at that time. I look back and I'm like, man, I wish that I knew, or my parents knew more about nutrition at that time, because I probably could have been a much better hockey player at that time. You would think, oh, before the game, we gotta eat some carbs before the game. My dad would put a big old fucking bowl of pasta in front of me like an hour before the game, and he's like, oh, you gotta get your energy in. By the time I'm on the bench, I'm fucking falling asleep. So it was all crazy stuff. And then I remember that he would have me do creatine too. You know, creatine is no big deal. You know, at 15 years old, you drink creatine or whatever. But at that time, he's like, you know, this is like steroids. You know, people on the news. Yeah, on the news. Now, one topic that a lot of people don't know about is I used to take growth hormone as a teenager.
Yeah, you told me.
Yeah, I used to take growth hormone as a teenager from the age 11 to 13 until my bone plates fused, and you know, I took growth hormone all the way through that. I went through an endocrinologist. They prescribed it, and I didn't grow much from it, but I could tell you one thing: it helped my hockey a lot. Like, I was out on the ice all the time. I never got sore, and it was genotropin. So I was taking genotropin. Now, the people are going to freak out when I say this. So the genotropin, they had the pen, okay? You put the cartridge in, you do the thing, it mixes it. Yeah, it mixes it. And it's about, I think each cartridge was about 3 milligrams or something like that. I don't really know exactly the genotropin cartridges, how much, or 8 milligrams, I think they were, 8 milligrams. So they progressive overload you, the endocrinologist, over time. So they see how much you grow on, like, let's say 2 IUs, and then they'll bump it up to 4 IUs, and they see how the chart is moving. So my chart initially was like this, but it kind of like went normal. But by the end of taking the genotropin, I was doing 1 vial a day, the whole thing.
How many IUs was that?
So it was, I think it was 8 mil. There were 8 milligram vials.
So what is that?
I don't know how many what milligrams goes into IUs. I think
it's gonna still be like 18 or something like that, wouldn't it?
8 milligrams to IUs. Let me see.
$36.
That's what I'm thinking.
I think they come in cartridges of 12 and 36 or something.
Well, I just know that it was. I'm telling you, it was the whole vial. I was doing every single day. So my insurance covered it. So they would just send. I'm telling you, they would just send vials of, like, I look at it now, I'm like, fuck, like, that was so much growth hormone we had it. Like, you know, in the fridge, in the bottom where you have the fresh fruits and produce or whatever, one of those was just dedicated to boxes of growth hormone that we had, like all GH. And it was, like I said, it was one vial a day, until I'm like, fuck, I don't want to do this anymore. And then I stopped. And then I look back, I'm like, you idiot.
Call
idiot.
the doctor. Tell him you're still short. They gypped you.
They gypped me. But yeah, so I took that for an extended period of time. I don't know if it helped my bodybuilding, you know, afterwards, but it certainly helped my hockey at that time.
Nate, what else you got? I know you got another one.
Yeah, I got, so bodybuilding related. So you're currently working with Andrew Vu, correct?
That's my boy.
So I know you've worked with Matt Porter in the past.
Yep.
Who else have you worked with? And then what have you taken away? What are some of the main takeaways from each coach that you've worked with?
So my first coach was a local coach here. His name is Yano Garcia. And they had a gym here in Miami called Porky's Gym. And he was like one of the well-known trainers there. And when I first got a trainer, This was when I was 21 years old. This was after I did Teenage Nationals. I took a year off, and I wanted to do now Men's Open. So I knew I needed to get somebody to help me, because I needed somebody to know if I wanted to run gear, I needed somebody that knew what they were talking about. So I hired him, and we did extremely well that year. We did Southern States here. I placed first. I almost won the overall by 1 point as a welterweight, which I could have probably been a lightweight. And then I did USA's for the first time, and I placed fifth, my first national show. What I learned from him is that there's such thing as new school versus old school versus really old school. So I learned the really old school version of prepping for a show, which was like no sodium, no drinking distilled water, boiling your fish, boiling your chicken. Like, I saw that extreme of bodybuilding, and at that time I didn't know that there was something else. I didn't know that wasn't not the way to do it. I mean, there's certainly application where you can use that. If you're trying to make weight, you can get to weight doing some of these tricks, but I got to see that extreme side of bodybuilding as far as the diet goes. After that, then I worked with Andrew. I got my pro card with Stan McQuay. Stan was awesome. Stan McQuay was awesome. I remember the way that we got connected, me and Stan, including Jose, was we would see all these guys, me as an amateur, we would see all these guys on covers and in the magazines and stuff like that. It was just reading. There was no social media. And Stan was on like every fucking cover of every magazine. And I just remember, I'm like, I like his physique. At the time, I wasn't very big, but I'm like, I could see myself maybe looking like this one day versus Ronnie Coleman. I couldn't, flipping the pages and seeing Ronnie Coleman, I'm like, I could never look like this. So I would see somebody like Stan, and I'm like, wow, like this is what I would like to look like. And on social media one day, I said I was getting ready for USA's. I didn't have a coach, and he sent me a DM. And from there, we started working together, and it was like a learning experience for me, because I've never eaten so much food before. I've never eaten so much food to get ready for a show. And he pounded me with food, But it worked out, we like I said, we did nationals. I got my pro card with Stan. Stan helped me the entire way. He flew down to Miami, and it was good because it was him and kind of like him and Calic were both the ones kind of like bouncing ideas together. Right. And it was just fascinating to learn from two different people like that. Then after I got my pro card, then I started with Matt Porter. The reason that I went with Matt Porter at the time is because I knew that if I wanted to take my physique to the next level, I knew that I needed somebody that was very, very smart with pharmacology. And me listening to a lot of the things that he was talking about as far as growth hormone, insulin, and all these things, I felt comfortable that any plan that he would put me on, I felt comfortable that I essentially wasn't going to die. So, I didn't feel that it was very extreme. So Matt Porter, and I mentioned it in my last podcast, I learned a lot from him from things that didn't work for me, if that makes sense. And I think that a lot of people, when they ask me questions about, oh, what did you learn from this coach? A lot of the times I have a longer list of things that we tried that didn't work versus things that we tried that did work. But that's great that you have this list of things that didn't work, because now you push those aside and you don't have to revisit those things again. And I think that a lot of those things, I apply it with clients that I have now that are getting ready for shows, etc. So Matt Porter was great though. He came down for my 212 show here in Miami, my pro debut.
I remember.
His wife came and they stayed with me. Yeah, it was, and what's I'm so happy is that he videoed it all, and it's all on YouTube. So it's like anytime that I think back about that prep, it's completely documented those last couple of days with Matt, in the driver wheel right on YouTube, which is, makes me think back. That was really awesome. And then the last coach I worked with was Johnny Castellana. Johnny, we worked together the first Classic Physique Arnold that we did together. And with him, Johnny is very knowledgeable, but unfortunately at that time, I was getting fake gear. So my gear was no good that I was getting. It was bunk. It was shit. Nothing worked on me. Nothing. And then after we got blood work done, we realized that everything that I've been prepping already for like 10 weeks was all garbage. So it wasn't the best prep because we did everything right as far as training and diet and everything, but that
What
portion
show
of
was
it
that
was
for?
that was for the first Arnold Classic for Classic Physique. That was not this one, not that one, 3 years ago.
17 maybe?
Yeah, 2017. Yeah, 2017. And then back with Andrew. I've been with Andrew already for about 3 years. So it's kind of me and Andrew, we knew each other competing as amateurs. We were in the same weight division and everything. So we've known each other for many years.
Well, it's working.
Hope so. You see. Speaking of Andrew, you see Hunter Labrada?
Yeah, he's
Crazy.
unreal.
Crazy.
I look at his photos and I'm like, first, I don't see no resemblance to Lee. I don't. Zero resemblance to Lee. But he stayed in shape almost all year round.
Yeah.
Eating so much food.
You know what I see when I look at him? I see a slightly, a bigger version, taller, but very similar to Flex Lewis.
Yeah.
He's got the legs, the calves, very, very similar.
The arms.
Yeah.
A very symmetrical back. There's not one thing I would say that stands out. I mean, his quads and all that, but there's not one thing that stands out, but there's not also one thing that is like, he needs to work on this.
Right.
I look at his physique. Like, he's very complete.
Yeah.
Very complete.
He's deceivingly humongous too. Like because he's so complete, you're like, wow, he looks good. Usually people that look really good and appealing aren't gigantic, and he's 260 pounds.
He's huge. I was here when he got his pro card at National. So I was following around Andrew, and Andrew had a bunch of clients at Nationals that year, including Hunter. So we're going through I'm helping with posing and everything with all his clients. And, we're just making a weekend out of it, I'm making a weekend out of it. It's down the street from where I live. I'm like, this is so much fun. Like, I don't have to compete. Like, I'm just having fun. And Hunter's like, yo, son, he's like, let's do something on Saturday night after the show. He's like, let's get some bottle service or something like that. He goes, you set it up. So I'm like, you're gonna give me that responsibility? Okay. So after he won, which was great, I reserved the whole section at 11 here. So for those that don't know, 11's a major club here in Miami, but it's also a strip club all in one. So wow. It's a strip club and like a mega club all in one. Absolutely insane. It's open 24/7. It doesn't close. So I'm sitting there after the show, I showered, I meet him up, and then Lee Labrada walks in. And he walks in, and then I'm like a little kid. I'm like, holy shit, this is so cool. And I've met Lee a couple times, but like being in the same room with him, I was like, oh, this is so cool. And then I get told that, because Lee's coming to the club too. And like my eyes like went like, I'm like, are you sure he wants to go to this club? I'm like, I see Lee on social, and he's a conservative, very well-spoken conservative. I'm like, I don't know if he's gonna like this scene. Like they got girls on like these trapeze artist things, and girls shaking their asses everywhere.
Well, and who wants to go to a strip club with their dad?
It's pretty
Apparently
much
Hunter.
Hey, they had a fucking blast. They had a blast. Yeah. And I got to take a picture with Lee. Lee wrapped it up with him and his wife or whatever and family that was there. after like, 2-3 hours, but he hung in there. But it was nice having drinks with Lee there. But I kept on thinking to myself, I'm like, oh my God, this is like, I'm embarrassed right now bringing him to this place. But that's a spot. That's a spot to be at.
That's awesome.
That's where I saw Dusty too last year.
Dusty went there with you?
No, he didn't go with me. He was already there.
Oh, really?
He was already there. Yeah, he was already there. 11 is the spot after nationals. You go over there and you don't know who you're going to run into. I mean, I see people in there from, the NPC and IFBB where I'm like, very interesting to see him here.
Yeah, I bet. I went to a place in New York back in the day called Webster Hall, and that was it was like the Studio 54 of the 90s, like, but they had the same thing: trapeze artists, people walking around on stilts, and women swinging from the ceiling by the hair. Yeah, it was pretty nutty. Clowns, and it was open till like 8 a.m.
Yeah, is there still a scene in today's era, right? So when you think of like the 90s, you think of Cormier, right? Of just partying and sometimes to the detriment of being at his best. Is that still going on? Santi, are you the Cormier of the 2010s over here?
Hell yeah.
It's so funny because I got to hang out with Cormier when I went to the LA Fit Expo. And I went to the LA Fit Expo just for fun. I went over there and I was hanging out with a couple of my girlfriends that live in Ohio, and they went over there for the expo as well. And they're friends with Cormier. And they told me, hey, yo, Saturday, let's go out with Chris is gonna come out with us. I'm like, count me in. I'm like, you don't have to tell me anything else. Count me in. Yeah. So we go out to this club out in LA, and we're waiting, to get into the back entrance or whatever. And then Stan McClay's there too. So I'm like, and I didn't even know he was going to be there. I'm like, oh man, this is going to be a great night. This is going to be an awesome night. So, we were in there, we were having a great time or whatever. And I come up to Chris and I go, you may have taken over the 90s in the club, but the bad guy, I was wasted. I'm like, but you see this guy right here? He's taking over the 2000s.
I'm sure you got a kick out of that.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know of anybody else that does the crazy, I guess it all comes down to the area that you're in. I mean, it's like, hey, this weekend, strip club here. This weekend, the boat, the yacht, the this, the that. And it just never kind of ends. Like bodybuilding for me, like once it hits those 8 weeks out, then I'm like, thank you, I could relax. I have an excuse to not do anything.
You got a lot of pool parties and stuff too, right?
We do. Not so much right now, obviously, but we do. Right now it's all about the boats. So you can go out on the boat. The marinas are open right now, and you could kind of, take advantage of renting a boat or a yacht.
Are there boat parties? They all come together?
And all the boats tie up together.
Yeah.
And it becomes a huge crazy party there on the sandbar. So much fun.
Yeah.
So much fun.
I'd like to do that.
Whenever you want.
I'll come down after the Tampa.
Okay. We could take out that yacht, the one that I went on the other day.
Yeah.
One of my friends is friends with like the charter that takes it out. It was awesome. You had a bartender. You had it was awesome. You sit there and they come and refill your drink and you chill and they take you out over there and all the boats come and they tie up and it becomes a huge party.
Nice.
Yeah.
Jose, we'll see if we can crash at Jesus's mansion down there.
Oh yeah. We got a friend down there that. Do you know what area that's in?
Man, I don't know the area well, but it was like a gated community island, and every house on there. Jose looked it up after on Zillow, and it was like a 35. What's that?
Star Island.
Maybe 30, it was. So we were staying.
Palm Island.
What was it?
Palm Island. Yeah.
Yeah, that was it. Yep.
They got Star Island. They got a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Jose looked it up, and it was like a $35 million house. They're at unbelievable, and the nicest people. Like our buddy Jesus, Jose trained him. You met the kid, you would never know he came from any money. just like
Nothing.
the best person.
Yeah.
Not flashy. None of that stuff matters. So we went down for his wedding last year and stayed at the Brickell Mandarin down there.
Nice
And
hotel.
you didn't make it the night before, right? You came down just for the wedding?
Yeah.
Jose?
Yeah. We couldn't do
Yeah.
it.
So the night before, they had a small reception. And I didn't know where this was. We just had an address. So my girlfriend and I get in an Uber or something. We put the address in. We don't know where we're going. And it goes to the island. And there's like security just to even get on. There's like a gate and guards and everything. Like, where are we going? We just thought this was going to be some function hall. And they drop us off. And it's like, you know, it was like Will Smith and Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, right? We're just looking up at this thing like, what is this place? We don't know where to go. There's Ferraris parked up front. And we walk in through the house and it was nuts, like absolutely nuts. And you go in the backyard, huge pool. In right on the water behind it was this like multi-million-dollar yacht that they had, just crazy, but the nicest group of people. Like that was one thing that was surprising, because in Boston, like I live in a high rise in Boston. There's a lot of wealthy people here. It's how I met this kid Jesus, and like more than 50% of them are just rich assholes. They're kind of looking you up and down and saying, okay, can I network with this person? Is there anything I can get out of this? No.
Of course.
All right, not worth their time. And nobody at this wedding had that. You know, it was like the nicest group of people. The wedding was crazy. What time did you, we couldn't hang. Like we would never hang on a night out with Santi at all. Like this was one of these, so they're Venezuelan, right? They're Venezuelan. And maybe we duck out at like 1 a.m, but they were doing this
that's
like,
that's when the party starts.
yeah, at 2 a.m. they had, you might know what it was called, but they were like, oh, that's this thing. And
he had a pop star, a Venezuelan pop star, show up to play at like 2 o'clock. And we had already gone to bed.
Yeah, man.
I forget his name. Do you remember the name?
I don't know. And they had a whole new round of food. It was like you could eat again at that point. Crazy, crazy, crazy.
Was it Nacho? Something like that?
Nacho.
Have you ever heard of that?
I don't know.
Nacho Libre?
Yeah. No, it was not your time to be awake. We went to bed.
Oh, we couldn't hang. I felt so bad. Jose was gone. Jose and McKellar were gone way before us.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we're going to make it. We're going to make it. I think I like pounded a pre-workout around like 12:30. Just
an MDMA pre-workout.
Yeah. And I couldn't. I felt so bad. My girlfriend and I were saying the other day, we're like, man, we just should have sucked it up. Like that was such a once in a lifetime thing for a good friend's wedding, but we're just not used to, man. And when you come to Boston, things are closed at 2, like 1:30 bars.
You gotta be out. You gotta be out like at 8 o'clock.
Yeah, exactly. You just have to start early. Exactly.
Hey, before we wrap up, we've been getting a lot of requests to see Chewy. So here's
So
one.
big.
He's
So big.
almost 150 pounds still.
Jesus.
And he's old. He's almost 12 years old.
How much does he eat all day?
A lot.
A lot?
Non-stop. He's a cookie monster. He's always begging for cookies or whatever it is I'm eating. You can't tell how big he is.
But his hair, you guys cut his hair, right?
Well, yeah, we cut it every year, but last year it never grew back.
Oh, it didn't?
No.
Yeah, man, because I remember seeing videos back when, and he had like a full.
Oh, yeah. It never grew back. I don't know what the hell happened. But at least we don't have to shave him in the summer.
He needs to wear a wig now, like you.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, do you have Rocky around?
He's in the bedroom with Christine. Otherwise, he would have been like right over my shoulder the whole time.
But Rocky's like a little white version of you, Santi.
Oh, yeah?
A French bulldog.
He's a little
bulldog?
Yeah.
jackhammer.
He eats all my protein treats and stuff. Like I have the Matt Porter Isopoof cereal. I don't know if you've tried that.
Oh, yeah.
And
I keep on getting ads for that.
It's so good, man. The French toast flavor is unbelievable. I ate that all through prep. I like, no lie, I was eating that a week out from the show and did nothing. It was like same nutrition as a protein shake. It's unbelievable. Like bars and everything else, I have cut out the diet. I could eat that stuff. But yeah, he eats that as like his treats. So he's like way too jacked to be a French bulldog. Like
he's lean too. Jacked. You can see all striated muscle on him.
Yeah, I'm a cat guy. So sorry, guys.
Yeah, you're into pussy. I get it.
It just attracts them. What can I say?
You are. Listen, do you have anyone you'd like to give a shout out to other than me? Anyone, and how can you be reached for coaching?
Probably through my Instagram. Instagram's the easiest, at IFBB_Santi. I mean, all my sponsors, Rise, we touched on them, Revive, Young LA. That's pretty much it. Those are my main sponsors right now.
So what's the show you have coming up? Is it Tampa?
Tampa. Yeah, I'm gonna do Tampa. I'm gonna do New York. I'm gonna do Puerto Rico, because they don't want to give me back my money for Airbnb, so I got to go over there anyways to use it. And what was the other one? Maybe Boston. Maybe Boston.
Oh, you got to.
That was my show to do before they canceled it and moved it.
Yeah.
Like I had everything set. So I want to at least do 4, and then I'll probably take like 10 months off after that and just kind of focus.
You got to come to Boston because it's at a casino, and
I know Encore.
Yeah, that's going to be up like late night. You'll be able to stay out what you used to.
There's a club right there, right? They have
a
nightclub built into the venue.
Yeah. Okay. Count me in then. I'm gonna tell them to. I'm gonna book the Encore next week then.
Awesome.
And maybe we'll see you at the New York Pro. Jose and I were both down there last year. That's sort of a reasonable drive too.
What's like they changed the spot.
Oh, right. It's in Jersey
now. It's not in White Plains anymore.
Is it in Teaneck?
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so it's the same venue the Universe has been at. That's a good location.
Yeah.
You know, it's more of it's a ballroom instead of like a theater.
Yeah.
But everyone stays in that particular hotel.
The venue, so you don't. Okay.
Right. So yeah, that's good. We'll make it down for that and see you. But I'll be in touch with you anyway.
Awesome.
And I appreciate you coming on.
Good to see you guys. Good to see that you're healthy. You know, this Corona stuff didn't get you guys or anything like that. So.
Yeah, me and Nate been sneaking workouts in pretty much weekly. Not every day, but we're getting it done. Nate's bigger than I am now.
That's actually true. Yeah, I can say that for once, right? As soon as he gets a few weeks of steady workouts in, but I'm enjoying it while I can. While I can get a few extra reps than him and say I'm a little heavier because it's not.
This is the heaviest he's ever been. Yeah.
Anyways, guys, thanks for having me. Whenever you guys want to do this again, I'm always down to hang out.
Yeah, we will. No, I appreciate your insight, and we wanted to get into the mind of the entrepreneur in you more than just bodybuilding. You are the bad guy.
Anyways, guys, have a good one. Love you guys.
All right, take care.
See ya.